Ferrari have only just added Hamilton to its roster, but the first cracks are already appearing to show. Is this a situation they can hold on to, or have they doomed themselves by signing the most prolific driver on the grid? Only moments after setting step in the Ferrari camp, questions starting flying around. How long will Hamilton stay at Ferrari? Isn't he too old for a switch? And perhaps most importantly, who is going to be the number one driver, and what does Leclerc think of this signing? First off, Hamilton signed a multi-year contract, indicating that he will be at Ferrari for at least 2 seasons. Some reports say that the deal is for 3 years, which is the length of contract he had with Mercedes before selecting Ferrari. That means he'll race for the team in 2025 and for at least the first season under the new regulations, which go into effect in 2026 and will include new aerodynamic requirements as well as substantial power unit modifications, like as the usage of 100% sustainable fuel and a greater emphasis on electrical power, and perhaps even one more after that. But then comes the following question: will he win another title with Ferrari? That is the million-dollar question. Hamilton will think so. Otherwise, he would not have joined Formula One's most recognized team. The Briton is aiming for his 8th World Championship, while Ferrari is looking for its first since 2008. He joins the Italian team at an opportune time, since Ferrari fought for the Constructors' Championship until the final race of the season last year, missing out by only 14 points. That was a significant stride forward, since they finished 454 points behind the winners in 2023. Whilst Mercedes finished 198 points behind the winners this year and 451 the year before, showing a huge improvement from the Ferrari camp, whilst Mercedes stayed lagging behind. However, a lot will rely on whether Ferrari can maintain its momentum and provide Hamilton with a car to compete in the top tier, as well as how much of a threat his highly touted teammate Charles Leclerc, who had his greatest season ever last year, offers. It will also be up to Hamilton to recover his qualifying form, which appeared to have deserted him last year, and maintain the high pace he demonstrated in race trim in 2024. But the big question will be how Ferrari will handle this, if they even are able to handle it. As things are standing now, Lewis Hamilton's move to Ferrari has reportedly divided opinion among Ferrari's tifosi, who predict either a dream team or a not easy season for Charles Leclerc, especially due to Vasseur's history with Hamilton. So, will Lewis Hamilton's presence upset Ferrari? What do you think? It's a tale and an intra-team conflict that could define the 2025 Formula One Championship. Hamilton comes to Ferrari with an excellent track record, having won 105 Grand Prix and 7 World Championships. In stark contrast, Leclerc has only 8 victories to his record and only some attempted World Championship fights. With Ferrari likely to be active in this year's title race following the Scuderia's results of 5 wins and 2nd place in the Constructors' standings last year, both drivers will be motivated to break the team's 18-year Drivers' Championship drought. It raises the question, will Hamilton's arrival create a dream team, or will it shake up Ferrari? According to Italian journalist Roberto Cinchero, Ferrari's tifosi hold opposing views on the subject. A big part of the Italian tifosi is trying to imagine how will be the relationship between Lewis and Charles, he said. It's a very popular topic in the last weeks. There are 2 opposite opinions about it. Some believe that Ferrari will have a dream team. That will be no problem at all. But there are those who believe that it will be not easy for Charles to have such a big personality in the other part of the box. But all these answers will come from the track. At the moment, what I can confirm is that for many years I did not see so much interest in the season that awaits Ferrari, considering that the engine has not yet been started for the first time. Former F1 technical director Gary Anderson feels Hamilton's arrival will result in a completely different teammate relationship than what Leclerc had with Carlos Sainz over the previous 4 seasons. Even more alarming for the Monegasque driver, he believes Ferrari will support Hamilton in the early stages of the championship. Let's not forget that Vasseur used to be the team principal of Hamilton in the junior categories, so they go way back. For Charles Leclerc, there won't be the same family team atmosphere that Sainz brought to Ferrari. Yes, they had their battles, but resolved most of them amicably, Anderson said. With Hamilton, a 7-time champion joining, it could be completely different. Ferrari has already backed Hamilton to the hilt in paying him way more than Leclerc, and I think it will do the same, back Hamilton, for the first part of the season at least, which could rile Leclerc. Hamilton will drive his first Ferrari Formula One car next week, joining Leclerc for a wake-up test in a Ferrari F175. He is expected to compete again later this month at the Circuit de Catalunya, and only after the first couple of races we'll know for sure who Ferrari is backing. But at this moment, things are pointing Hamilton's way. What do you think? Could they go all in on Hamilton, even though he looked far off in recent years? So far off that even fans, analysts, and the press started to wonder. Just like F1 journalist Ben Hunt did, who questioned whether Lewis Hamilton had kind of checked out when he served his notice at Mercedes, after claiming he was no longer fast last season and dipped in performances. Hamilton's 12th and last year with Mercedes ended last season, with the Briton announcing his departure from the F1 2024 championship even before the first race. It was a season of highs and lows for the Briton and Mercedes, as he snapped his 945-day winless streak but was not in contention for the world title, finishing 7th in the drivers' standings. It was the first time in Hamilton's 18-year career that he finished outside of the top 6, and it was only the second time he lost a qualifying head-to-head against a teammate. Hamilton admitted after sprint qualifying in Qatar, "I'm definitely not fast anymore." With the issue hovering over his head as he joins Ferrari, F1 journalist Hunt wonders if Hamilton had checked out, and if this will hurt him during his Ferrari spell. He'd handed his notice in at the start of the year, and he was serving his notice. He'd kind of checked out, Hunt said. And you know, once you've done that, you're never working at your same capacity. The drive isn't there to deliver week in, week out, when you've done so. I think his head had been turned. He was looking at Ferrari, and what was unusual was the fact he said it. But it was an unusual circumstance for him as well, because he'd had that dip in motivation, and like I say, his focus had to switch to another team who he wasn't driving for. So, you know, while he was running around behind that Ferrari, he was probably thinking about what he could bring to the table to make it even better, and it was kind of detracting from his usual thinking process. Hamilton's "not fast" comment was not the first occasion in 2024 that he aroused eyebrows. He also wanted to retour the car in Qatar, but was convinced otherwise by his race engineer Pete Bonington. Hunt believes Hamilton's statements were out of character since he had been disillusioned during his final years at Mercedes, after winning 6 world championships with the Silver Arrows and then 3 years in an uncompetitive car. "I think that his time at Mercedes," he said, "I don't want to say he grew stale, but he certainly got very disillusioned, I think, with life at Mercedes. And I think that he needed this change for the motivation. He was kind of going through the motions is how I felt for the last couple of years at Mercedes, as they failed to deliver a car that is capable of fighting at the front. We know that this style of car doesn't suit his driving, and he's tried to learn and combat that, but it's not been helped by an uncompetitive car. But he's always had that motivation to turn up and deliver and do as best as he can, which you know is admirable. You rarely hear him say, 'I want to retire the car,' which is why on those occasions last year when he mentioned it, that's really out of character, that someone has had enough." The good news for Ferrari is that the F1 journalist believes Hamilton will be re-energized by the Ferrari challenge, and he could even win his coveted 8th world title. He wanted the new challenge, he said. He wanted to be really motivated, re-energized. But will it be enough? What do you think? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below.